The Orange, with a dominant first-half performance, left Kalamazoo with a 55-42 win over the Broncos. There's one thing, though, that is absolutely clear. Eric Dungey has to stay healthy for this team to see the postseason. We'll give you our thoughts on the game, plus your thoughts on the game. Wagner heads to the Dome to face the Orange next week. We'll tell you what to expect. I'm Sean. This is the Cuse Militia Podcast. Let's go.
Is that an orange in your pants, or are you just happy Cuse won? Make some noise, Orange fans. It's time for the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. Give us a like on Facebook at Cuse Militia Podcast and follow on Twitter at Cuse Militia. The right of the people to keep and wear orange shall not be infringed.
All right, what's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, please share it. In this episode, we're going to go over the poll results from last week. We're obviously going to go over the game. We're going to do some fan feedback. That's back into play. And we'll give our Armchair replay of the game along with Joe's My Bookie pick and the Wagner game preview. But first, obviously, the NCAA is in full swing. The NFL starts this weekend, believe it or not. And you know what that means. It's time to put your money where your mouth is. When doing so, I recommend My Bookie. Remember, who you're betting on is just as important as who you're betting with. That's why I always tell people to bet with My Bookie. Trust me, guys, these are your best bet this season. They've been in business for years, have great online reviews, and their mobile site is easy to use. I would only recommend a service to my listeners. That's been good to me. That's why I'm urging you to make your way to My Bookie. You win, they play. They have in-game live betting, the most rewarding player perks in the business. And for you fantasy guys out there, you can even bet the over-under on how many fantasy points a player will score each game. Join now, and My Bookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar. Use promo code CUSE to activate the offer. Visit MyBookie online today. That's MyBookie. And don't forget to use promo code CUSE when creating your account to claim up to $1,000 in free play. You play, you win, you get paid. MyBookie. All right, Joe.
Yes. Whew.
Sabi.
God.
We could probably talk just about the game. We could probably talk for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. There was just so much stuff in that game.
All the stuff.
All the stuff in the game.
Yeah.
So, but first, let's go over the poll that we put out before the game. The question was, is a pregame poll, will SU leave Kalamazoo with a W Friday night? I gave 4 options. With 2%, who cares? I'm fair-bound. Okay.
Yeah.
With 10%, no, they lose a close one. And 36%, yes, easily. Now, we could make an argument there whether or not it was easy or not. I guess it could have been way easier than it was.
Yeah.
And with 52%, the majority of us, which is the one I picked, yes, but it'll be tight. They would have stomped them. But we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, Cuse won their 5th straight season opener while snapping a 7-game losing streak on the road. Dungey went 7 for 19 passing for 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. He took 0 sacks and did not turn the ball over. Mo Neal with the bulk of carries, 28 rushes for 83 yards. Strickland with 38 yards on 11 carries. There was only one receiver with a catch. Custis rose to the top with 6 for 168 yards and 2 TDs. Devin Butler struggled. He dropped a couple passes that came his way. DeVito's much anticipated debut was rough, but might have not totally been his fault. He went 4 for 9 for 42 yards, no turnovers. Western Michigan QB John Wasink gave it his all. He threw for 379 yards, 3 TDs and 2 interceptions. Kylan Whitner and Andre Sisco each took one of those. Sisco is the first true freshman to start at the safety spot for the Orange since 1985. The Syracuse defense was the soft spot in the game. They allowed 621 yards total offense. It was the 4th game in a row that Syracuse allowed at least 600 yards from opponents, and in those 4 games, they allowed 204 points. Okay? So, Joe, we talked about this last year. We talked about this in the offseason. How does the Syracuse quarterback affect the Syracuse defense? How is that possible? That's a thing.
Yeah, well, obviously it's a thing. I think at this point it's probably an imprinted just mental thing that's happened over the last 3 years, considering they haven't won a game without him. So that could be it. But also, I do think that it had something to do with us. Maybe again, like I think maybe it was mental. They bring in DeVito a little bit early, kind of gives that whole thought process out to the team that our coaches think we got this in the bag. And meanwhile, Western Michigan, they came out of halftime ready to go. They do have two guys that, again, like you mentioned, Westink, he threw for all those yards, but those two guys that I talked about that had the sub 4.4 40s, Bellamy, he had 11 carries for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Eskridge was the other one who had 8 catches for 240 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's crazy.
So it's still pretty much plain to see to me that when it comes to super elite fast guys, we still don't have that. Like, we are going to have to be a little bit more. And of course we have, like you mentioned, the freshman free safety Cisco there. There's a couple of deep balls where he didn't turn and he didn't get his depth, and he didn't turn and find the receiver fast enough. And he got burnt, and we just have to be a little bit more aware of who's on the field, especially when you have guys like that we know we don't have that speed in our defense. So it was kind of tough to see those deep balls still kind of go that way. But to be perfectly honest with you, this is kind of,
I mean, there is double coverage a couple of times, and they were just beat. They're just beat.
Yeah, well, it could be double coverage, but if that safety doesn't get the depth and turn and start running and getting that angle fast enough, then he's already beat too. So,
right.
It's essentially, it was never double coverage if that safety can't even get that depth. So, and again, they were kind of being, I mean, that's not the way that Tim Lester plays. It's not the way that Western Michigan's going to play in close games. They usually run a lot more, and their offensive line definitely was pretty impressive in the second half, especially. They started running the ball a little bit, broke off some big ones, and to be perfectly honest with you, we really didn't get too much pressure on Westink. I saw we had like 3 pass deflections, and then I think maybe there was 2 hurries, and there was 1 sack, and it was near the end of the game. So Western Michigan really did a good job, and it just shows kind of how we did. I mean, that's a newer team as far as the players that are all, with all the injuries and everything. And Lester last year was his first year, so it's their first game too. And I'll tell you what, this was more of the game that I kind of expected. If I wouldn't have known what happened in the first half and I saw that as a final score, that would have been like, okay, that makes sense. Because I do think that they have offensive firepower. But I don't know if necessarily this time around it was, I mean, I don't know if it had anything to do with Dungey, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Western Michigan is going to come out and their offense is pretty good to me. And I think that that first half kind of was maybe a little bit of a false look at what you're looking at for Western Michigan and what they could be. So that and the fact that, DeVito, he looked good in some drives, but, you can't do nothing about the Ravion Pierce fumble.
Yes.
And then, there's a couple mistakes he made because he is a freshman. But overall,
stepped on him one time.
Yeah.
First, he got sacked.
Exactly. The whole thing goes to the fact of just, I don't necessarily think, you mentioned it was our 5th straight season opener win, but we haven't had a season opening game like this on the road against a good team. And I don't want to say they're a great team, but they're a team that could beat you if you don't show up.
Yeah, and they're on the road. They still put up 42 points. I mean, regardless of how many we scored in one, they still put up 42.
Exactly. I just think that maybe there was just a little false sense of security, and we came out a little lackadaisical, and they came out on fire, and just we got to get DeVito the time. I don't know if I would have done it this way or that early. I might have let Dungey go the first 3 quarters and put him in, because if Dungey, the way that the game was going, if Dungey played 3 quarters, it wouldn't have mattered of how Western Michigan scored. We would have been in the 50s or 60s. So at that point, it wouldn't have mattered. So plus with Wagner coming up, it's just DeVito's going to see his time. But, Babers wanted to throw him out there and see what happened. And I'm just glad that we left the game with Dungey healthy and a win. So that's all we really needed. There was definitely some questionable stuff. But honestly, as far as this game goes, I don't know if it was more or less. I mean, I think it had a little bit to do with Dungey leaves and our offense just doesn't move as much. But I think a lot of it was just, I mean, that Western Michigan offense you saw in the second half is going to kind of be what they look like this year. And I think we're going to see it against a lot of teams, especially in the when they get to the MAC. So that could have just been, a fluke first half. We came out rearing and ready to go, and they were kind of still trying to get their stride.
They were, even the defense was clicking. Everything was on fire, dude. They were awesome.
Yeah, but they were Western Michigan was making mistakes, and when they came out in the second half, they had nothing to lose, and they were just throwing up bombs to guys that are faster than our guys.
They knew where they could beat us. A record-breaking night though for Dungey. He is the fourth quarterback in the ACC to reach 200 yards rushing. Also, he passed Marvin Graves for completions. Marvin Graves with 563, Dungey with 567 after that game. That's third all-time for Graves and second all-time for Eric Dungey. He's behind Ryan Nassib. Real quick, with Dungey out, Syracuse netted 78 yards and 0 points. With Dungey in, it was 482 yards and 55 points. So that is same defense. So that's huge. I mean, Dungey's presence on the field in the way the way he plays, man. When he gets fired up, he ain't playing around. When he's fired up, he's hitting dudes on the sidelines. He could have got two personal fouls in a row. The one where he went out of bounds, he laid a hit into a couple guys on the sideline, and then I really do believe he was trying to help that what was his name? He got kicked out. What the heck was his name?
No, number 34. He was a linebacker. He was definitely trying to help him up.
Yeah, he stumbled over his own feet. He said that in his interview. But he did also. I mentioned 200 yards, fourth ACC quarterback to reach that rushing. He crushed the school record. For rushing by a quarterback. So, I mean, it was an exciting game. There was a lot there. There was,
just 384 yards and 3 touchdowns and no turnovers, and he only played 3 quarters.
Yeah,
I like how our offensive line definitely looked bigger, stronger, more experienced. The way our running back, Mo Neal, had 28 carries to Strickland's 11, so that was a little, kind of...
Strickland actually averaged more.
Yes, no, he did, and I know they're both going to be out there and stuff, and, as you can see, we carried the ball a lot, 334 yards, 5 touchdowns.
That's huge.
And,
by the way,
we hit West...
I'm sorry, Strickland, I meant to mention this earlier. Strickland with 2 rushing, and Dungey with 1 rushing, and then Mo Neal had 2. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Go on, I'm sorry.
Overall, that looked good. I'm glad that we could actually go on the road, establish a ground game. One of our receivers stepped up, which was fun. Custis finally actually looked like what some of the coaches and some of these things we've heard about, going on. So. But, overall, the offense still looks good. And like you said, as long as Dungey's under quarterback, they have a chance to win, right? Just ask Clemson, right?
Yeah, so, let's ask Tim Lester. Tim Lester actually
he recruited the guy.
Actually recruited Dungey, so he's high on Dungey. That's his guy. And there's a connection there. Obviously, they didn't talk before the game. They talked afterwards. But here's Tim Lester. I chopped it up a little bit for you. Tim Lester on Eric Dungey.
I know moral victories are something to talk about.
That's right.
Was 42 points in the dreams last night when you thought what your offense might be able to do against that defense?
All I've been thinking about is, can we slow down Eric? Honest to God. And when you're looking at it as a head coach, the key to them is simple. Like if you can slow that thing down, if you slow 2 down, you can beat them, and if you don't, you can't. Like I said, ask Clemson. So I knew we'd find our way, whether it's running for 400 or throwing for 400. It doesn't matter to me. We have to do it in both areas and arenas. So I was thinking more about, are we gonna be able to get in the backfield? Are we gonna hit them? Are we gonna tackle them? Which we didn't do a good enough job of, and they got ahead. And then it became a score fest, and I was like, well, maybe we can outscore them. We got to 6, and And then they pulled away again. They put 2 back in because when he's not in there, they're a different team. You can see that quickly. I think we're good enough to beat the team if we played, I think, a little better on defense. But I think that's going to be every coach you hear that's playing Syracuse is going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you now. And we'll see if they can do it. We weren't able to get it done.
Yeah, the key to beating Syracuse, if you can stop 2, you can win. If you can't stop Dungey, I mean, they're going to be in the game. They showed that all last year.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about the other podcast. Exactly, yeah. They were in those games. I mean, you can't deny the fact that you had people wanted to hate on the defense. We only allowed, we held LSU, Clemson, Miami, Florida State, all under 30 points with our defense when we had Dungey, and we were in every single one of those games like perennial teams, ranked teams. We beat Clemson, and then Dungey goes down, same defense, and we're giving up 40, 50 points to Wake Forest and Boston College. It's a mental thing. And until there's another quarterback that proves himself and steps up, then I think that it's one of those things where, especially when he's out for the season, I think this game, players, they got caught on their heels, and they knew that Dungey wasn't hurt and he could come back in, and they had a lead. But you're talking about going into a game knowing that Eric Dungey isn't going to start, and I don't think these guys think that they can win without him. And that's something that's going to be very difficult to get out of their head because they had 3 years of Mahoney and not having a Dungey but for 1 game in November out of those 3 years. So it's just I understand Baber's concern to get DeVito in there, but you can't play with fire sometimes. And T almost played with fire and lost. Yeah, he on Friday night. So. Yeah. But again, we said we won, and just like what Tim Lester said, Eric Dungey's a problem.
Yeah, he is. Plain
and simple, he's a problem.
He's got more adrenaline than the average person, I think.
And he's got a lot more than a lot of stuff than the average person.
Yeah, he does.
But I'm just saying, as a Syracuse fan, just with some of the facts and the proof, and even if you haven't seen it and you've listened to some people and listened to us, even I don't see how you're not excited for Syracuse football as long as Eric Dungey is healthy, especially his senior year. I just don't see it.
Yeah, he is just so much fun to watch, and I just pray that he stays healthy, bro. And
we all do, man.
That we get a full season out of Eric Dungey, because we are going to miss Eric Dungey, and there's no more cats like him. I mean, they come few and far between to get a cat like Eric Dungey.
But to kind of couple that, we can't be mad when the next time that Babers does this. Let's just hope that he does it in a smarter manner. Hopefully, hopefully he can get a lot of burn in Wagner, because I do believe in what he's trying to do. Tommy DeVito, he came in with a lot of hype, and there's some fans that sat there just because of the hype and said he should start over Dungey. So
obviously
that's pretty obvious now that that's not the case. This is what we knew all along. It's just at the same time we have to start prepping for the future, especially prepping for maybe an inevitability in the fact that Eric Dungey just can't stay healthy for a full year. We can't judge Babers every time he does this. But again, it didn't hurt. It made everybody sitting on pins and needles Friday night. But it definitely made it interesting, absolutely. But you know what? As much as maybe they came back and DeVito went in there and got experience. He got hit. He went out there.
He played against and he threw a couple passes. He didn't throw any interceptions.
Right, and all together, that can only help him personally. He hasn't played a game in 2 years. He's on the road first, So
yeah, absolutely.
Kudos to the fact that Babers had the balls to do it, and that we came out on top. And the fact of the matter is whether it was a negative for the fans, it's going to be a positive experience for DeVito for the future and going ahead. So
all right, exactly.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House, the best damn college sports fans in the nation.
All right, so time for fan feedback. Who's excited for fan feedback? I am.
Nah.
Come on, bro.
Oh, okay. Wait, what fans are we talking? Oh, okay.
All right, here we go.
Let's see. Look. The fair was record breaking this weekend, so let's see what kind of fan feedback
was
we
it
got.
for my booger? My booger? My booger free is through a free concert.
Oh, I don't know, but it was Saturday. My girlfriend went, and she said that she went to the mall, and I mean, all the parking spots at the fair were
gone.
Right,
because they're shipping from the mall, right? They're shuttling over.
They were shuttling from the mall. All the parking spots there were taken, and they were sending people to the airport and getting shuttles, and they actually had state trooper escorts to go through the traffic. It took her 3 hours to get to the fair.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a ton of fun. I don't miss that.
Well, needless to say, I was not upset that I didn't make the decision to go.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. All right, fan feedback if you want. We would really appreciate your participation in fan feedback. That's huge because without your participation in fan feedback, well, it doesn't happen. So go.
Are you talking to me?
You give enough feedback.
Okay, my bad.
We're sick of hearing your feedback. Go to @SYRBall on Twitter. Go to @Cuse Militia on Twitter. And give us a like on Facebook at Cuse Militia Podcast on Facebook. And we post this stuff up for you to comment on after the game. All right, Twitter first. @Mr. Dodger 1966. Secondary appears rock solid. Losing Dungey for any period of time won't affect them one bit. That's obviously sarcastic. It's
got to be. It's got to be.
Okay.
That's 100% sarcastic.
Yeah, obviously. It's very dry sarcasm on Twitter, though. You can't tell sometimes. Let's see. @OilCuse, worried about Butler dropping all those passes. What about the blanking wide receivers? O-line was legit. We need some pass rush and more pressure packages. All right, Joe.
Yeah,
Butler dropped some passes. Was it nerves? I mean, he's obviously going to step up. It's just, he's definitely going to be based upon how he played last year, and he's more experienced, and he played in the offseason. He's definitely going to get the chances, but at some point, if he's not coming through with it, and someone else is going to get a chance to step up. And, as far as the pass rush goes, I think it had just a lot to do with how good Western Michigan's offensive line is. We kind of touched on it in the preview, and I think they kind of they were kind of as advertised, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, I didn't think a lot of the things that went wrong with Central or Western Michigan's offense, especially in the beginning, was because of their offensive line. So I think that had a little bit to do with the pass rush. I think we'll see definitely next week. We'll see it a little bit better. But, other than that, I wouldn't be too worried about that stuff. Receivers are going to step up. So @TimGross3, he kind of piled on there. Dino has some explaining to do. Looks like another year of crappy defense. And then @Keen WJ Bill piled on. He said they're going to give up about 100 points to some of these elite ACC teams. Defense is pathetic. In Western Michigan, we're talking about Dungey will certainly not make it through the season the way he plays, and DeVito fell twice after taking the snap. Ouch. Yeah, he was stepped down once that I saw.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta agree with Bill here and say, I am a little worried about some of these elite ACC teams, running up the scoreboard. So.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's a concern. That's a legit concern, I think.
So they got athletes like that. I kind of, with some of the people that I've talked about, and I want to call them just. I don't want to call them ignorant, but they're ignorant to Western Michigan and the fact that they have athletes, they have people. Again, they're 4 years, 2 years removed from an undefeated team that went to the Cotton Bowl. They still have players, and they have two guys that if you run under a 4.4, you are fast. You are faster than 97% of the people out on the field, 98% of the people on the field majority of the time. And against a team like Syracuse, it all depends on the defense, but you're faster than everyone on the defense. So we don't have that speed. So again, that's just stuff that we got to learn. Our younger safeties have to learn to be able to get better depth so that they could actually help over the top double coverage and when they're running, cover two over the top schemes and stuff like that. And that's just something that, again, it's the first game. I think that a lot of fans, they underlook Western Michigan and the athletes they have, and that they are a legitimate team. And, just defense is young. First game, they're going to get better.
Yeah.
The first game is not always your best,
Billy the Kid on Twitter says, gotta love what Dino is doing this program. Another step in the right direction. Yeah, I mean, the offense with Eric Dungey looked great.
I like that guy. See that? He just saw the W, looked forward, didn't look at the negative.
Yeah.
Because that's all that matters at this point. You're looking at we could be starting 3-1, so
yeah,
good for you, bud.
Dan on Facebook says, defense was inconsistent, not sure what happened once Dungey left the field. Well, here's what happened. He left the field. It appeared that the whole team left. They need to learn to perform without Dungey. And our boy Zach, who is a couple koozies richer, this is our boy Zach. He got some koozies sent to him. He agrees with Dan on that.
Yeah.
And let's see. Jeff G., this guy was my Pop Warner coach for like 4 or 5 years. He's on our Facebook page. Who know? Work in progress. Let's see the adjustments that are made. Backup QB needs more reps to get up to speed with the game. Too many open receivers missed due to receiver or QB not on the same page. Yeah.
That sounds like a fair assessment.
That's fair, right? Well, he was a coach,
yes, sir.
So he's looking at it from the coach's point of view, I guess.
Yes, sir, Coach Gravelding.
Yeah, that's right. You knew who it was.
He's my neighbor forever, so he knows what he's talking about. Good guy.
He does. Mike on Facebook says, Dungey gets hurt, we're in some trouble.
Of course.
I can't disagree with you, Mike. I can't. Steven, long story short, phew, we won. No injuries that we know of, in parentheses, but lots to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed we won. We got the W. Yeah. We talked about how important it was to start the year with the W on the road in season opener, and being able to host Wagner in the Dome the following week. It's huge.
Yep.
You know,
huge.
It's a really good opportunity to go 2-0 after you win that game. So Paul says Ford defense got to fix that. Yep. The consensus is clear. The fans see the problems with the defense. They also see the potential problems if Dungey isn't in the game. And, hey,
I'm just saying, you can quote me, mark my word. People can say what they want. The fans are judging what they saw off the first half. Western Michigan, just as badly as maybe people want to say our defense fell off, like Western Michigan started taking shots and their offense showed up. And I'd guarantee that this is a team that's going to be putting points on the board against other teams all year.
All right, so, armchair replay of the game. This is the part of the show where we armchair quarterback an aspect of the game that we would have changed, which is easy to do once the game has been played. And it is brought to you by ArmchairAllAmericans.com. They help publish this show. You can also go there. You can set up a profile. They have over 15,000 player profiles to look at and get all your stats on. They do NHL. They do NBA. They do college football, college basketball, college
NFL,
college baseball. They do the NFL. So go there, set up your profile, set up your favorite teams in there, and they've got content every day, new content coming to the website, ArmchairAllAmericans.com. The Armchair All-Americans replay, I think, has to go to, and we touched on this, Babers may have taken Dungey out of the game. It's just a little too early. I think if you wait until at the end of the third quarter, you probably have that lead padded out more. I don't think they can mount a comeback in time at the end of the game in the fourth quarter. You throw in DeVito, give him the fourth quarter, and maybe looking back in hindsight, that might be what he would have done. But 34-7, you think, okay, throw him in the last part of the second half, and I don't know. He lasted over a quarter, I guess.
He likes to take risks. He likes to test his people, put his guys in certain situations to see how they react. And it was a chance he was willing to take. And like you said, in hindsight, there's a bunch of things that could have happened to where it wouldn't have been a bad decision. But in hindsight, college football, clock stops a lot, and we've seen comebacks. So, I don't know. Again, it's all in hindsight, but if I was him, just like, kind of what you said, I'd let him play at least into the third quarter, see what happens into maybe halfway through or the end of the third quarter, and especially knowing that you have Wagner next week. That DeVito's going to be able to get some reps most likely. So, but again, he likes throwing the guys in the fire and seeing how they deal with it. So
yeah,
hey.
well, he did. I think DeVito got a good taste of, what's going on and what he's gonna have to deal with.
Yeah. Well, this is an easy armchair quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Wait till we get into some of these closer games, because then there's going to be multiple things we can actually sit back and actually, what was the play that kept them from getting 3 points or 4, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
we got a W, and this was pretty obvious what it was. And again, in hindsight, it's easy to say it was a bad decision, but we still got the W. DeVito gained experience. No harm, no foul. Play on.
All right. Yeah, that was easy. You're right. That's easy. Those are gonna get harder and harder to choose, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Your MyBookie pick last week. The MyBookie pick obviously brought to us by MyBookie. Join now and MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar. Use promo code Cuse to activate the offer. Visit MyBookie online today. That's MyBookie, MyBookie. And don't forget to use promo code Cuse when creating your account to claim up to $1,000 in free play. You play, you win, you get paid. Joe gave us a hypothetical last episode, and he picked Cuse. I think the spread was 5.5
or 6.
Yeah, well, I guess when we did the show, I think it was 5.5.
No, okay, yeah.
Right. So this week we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do number 19 FSU at home versus number 20 Virginia Tech. There is obviously this week there's no line for Wagner in Syracuse anywhere to be found, even on MyBookie. So we're gonna do this game. It's tonight. We are recording this before the game.
Yes,
this
we are.
Game starts, so we'll know. You may know instantly whether or not Joe was right or wrong. This game starts in about 5 minutes. So the line is 7.5 given to Virginia Tech. This is going to be a good game.
Yeah,
ACC
it probably should
game,
be.
Okay. So
it's an early ACC game, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Joe, take it away. This is your time to shine, brother. You got last week's right. Let's see what you got.
Right. Well, usually what happens is when a Division I team is playing against a Division I AA team, then usually these sports books places and obviously mybookie.com, they don't really have a line on those because they're so kind of outlandish and crazy scoring. So we chose this one because after Wagner, our opponent is Florida State at home, and it's a ACC game the first week of the season on a Monday, nonetheless on a Labor Day. But
right.
It's going to be interesting because again, FSU, they have that new coach, Willie Taggart from South Florida. They have the athletes. Virginia Tech's got some guys. Honestly, I expect it to be a really, really good game, and I might kind of go crazy here. I think FSU's got the athletes, but I think because it's the first game with the new coach and everything like that, I think I'm going to take Virginia Tech getting the 7.5 points. That half a point, I think, is really what pushes me over. So I'm going to go with Virginia Tech plus 7.5. So
really,
again, all opinion. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
We're keeping track. We're keeping track of you, brother. So,
oh boy.
All right. Well, Saturday, September 8th at 3:30. This is the Dome opener. Wagner comes to the Dome. The Seahawks, they return 7 starters on offense. They return a senior running back, Ryan Fultz, who was named first team NEC in 2017 after rushing for 1,387 yards and 12 touchdowns. They've got 10 of 11 starters returning on defense from last season. So, it looks good on paper, I guess. They got a lot of experience, a lot of guys coming back from last year, Joe. But is it going to be enough to stop the fierce Syracuse offense led by Eric Dungey, at least for the first half?
No, it's not. I'm sorry. They're just one of these teams that every now and again they can put together some good seasons, but they're not really the cream of the crop of the D1 AA. I listened to Dino Babers' press conference today, and you kind of got to show respect to the team. But
right.
After putting up 55 against Western Michigan in only 3 quarters, Eric Dungey. Like I don't really see how that's going to happen. I know I just randomly Googled something about this game just to kind of see, and apparently there are some places that actually do these lines. So the randomest line that I just saw when I looked up is Syracuse minus 41 and the over-under at 57 points. So,
okay. 57 points. That's it?
Yeah, that just means that they don't think Wagner's going to score. So, I mean, realistically, when it comes down to it, again, I expect nothing but us coming out and doing our thing, and DeVito coming in maybe where he came in this year. Or this past week, I'm sorry. Or, maybe Babers takes a little bit more of a, safe chance with this and waits till halftime. Who knows? But I just don't really see this being a really competitive game. The way that our offensive line kind of pushed those guys around and we ran the ball. I think with Dungey in there and with our first team in there, I think it's going to be relatively easy. All I can really hope for, and all I think anybody can really hope for, is just that we come out of this game as unscathed as possible. I think this might be a game where
limit your quarterback rushing yards, maybe reel that in a little bit.
Yes, reel that in. He's gonna have a couple. He's always gonna be rushing every now and again. But I just
Butler
feel like
involved. This is Butler's time to step back up and prove that he can, make some plays.
Now, don't get it twisted. D1AA schools, they give teams trouble all the time. NC State just beat James Madison this past week. I think it was only 24-13. James Madison gave them all they can handle. I was talking to my father. He said a bunch of NC State guys got hurt. One of their better defensive linemen out for the season. But James Madison is a pretty well-known, good D1AA team that can come and beat you. I don't know if Wagner's ever gone to someone's Power 5 school and giving them a game. So, but we can't overlook anybody. It is still football. You got to go in there and just get the job done and just score a bunch of touchdowns early, and hopefully we can get our young guys in there, keep our first stringers unscathed and healthy for the next week. And I think that's kind of how Babers is going to go and do that. So.
All right. Well, there you go. There's your Wagner preview. We will see. I hope people show up. I know it's just Wagner, but I hope people show up. The
fair's done.
The fair's done. You got nothing else to do. It ain't apple picking season yet, is it? Not
I don't
yet.
know.
No.
Didn't look like it, no.
Come on. It's still 90 degrees out. All right.
Yeah, it was really hot.
Time to get a couple reviews in. I'm going to do 2 today. So if you listen on iTunes, please go give us a 5-star rating, and if you give us a written review and I read your review on the show, then
it's easy.
It's so easy. It takes 5 seconds.
It's so simple.
It's so simple, and it really helps us out with iTunes. The way iTunes works, the ratings are crucial to getting subscribers and also just being able to be, one of the better podcasts for Syracuse sports. So, there's people trying to create Syracuse sports podcasts all the time. But they're not the Cuse Militia. So let's keep this going because everybody's really helping out and we appreciate it.
We want you.
We want you for the Cuse Militia. JPB4445683 says, guys make it tons of fun to listen to, and they said they give free gear if you write a review. Hey, see how easy that is?
See that? That's so easy.
See how easy that is?
Simple. Look at that.
Hey, JPB4445683, you just got yourself free gear. See how easy that is? There's nothing to it. And I appreciate the honesty. You got some koozies coming your way. There he is. Give us an email at cusemilitia@gmail.com. And this is DJ Netlet. This one's great. This is my favorite review that we have on this board. I love these guys. I love that these guys just talk SU-related stuff, no having to listen to some pretentious idiot give their opinion about beer or the green waves of Tulane. If I only listen to one podcast before the game, it's this one. So I don't know who he's talking about, and I don't want to speculate. I may have an idea.
Speculation. Only speculation.
I may have an idea, but I'm just going to keep it to myself. Listen,
I think they know who he's talking about.
DJ Netlet, you get some koozies coming your way. Email us.
Absolutely.
At cusemilitia@gmail.com. I always think the screws me up because it's the beginning of a Twitter handle. So email us cusemilitia@gmail.com. There you go. Email us.
It starts as koozies, right? It starts as koozies.
Koozies, yeah. Dude, the koozies rock. And hey, I don't know how they do it, but they do. They keep your beer colder than any other koozie I've put my beer can into, I swear.
Oh, get out of here.
No, they do. They do. Well, I don't know what it is.
Again, like I said, it's just us as koozies. You're going to get koozies that nobody sells, that nobody has.
That's right.
And again, reach out to your friends, tell your friends, family, other fans about this. You don't even gotta pay maybe it could be a T-shirt one day. Like, who knows?
Oh, there's T-shirts coming. And
there might be.
Also,
there might be. But we need their help.
Yes, we do.
We can't do it by ourselves.
We need the help. We can't do it by ourselves. We can't do the show by ourselves.
No.
This is the Cuse Militia, the fans' voice. We appreciate all of your input. We appreciate all your reviews. We appreciate the Twitter, the Facebook, the this, the that, the this.
Oh, yeah, and the more that they bring and the more that you talk about and the fans talk about it, then the more we can bring you up and we can talk about the stuff. We can call you out, and then we can get you more gear.
Who knows? Maybe there's going to be
some swag bags.
Maybe there's going to be a call-in number someday,
Maybe.
So, who knows? All right. Well, thanks to everybody who participated in the fan feedback. Thanks for your reviews.
Thank you, sir.
And ma'ams. We would love to give out some more stuff for reviews. Please go to iTunes, give us a rating and a review. And obviously, more Cuse Militia podcast is inevitable. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.
This has been the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. Be heard. Contact us on Facebook at Cuse Militia Podcast and tweet at us using #CuseMilitia.